Welcome to the Fort Collins Fellows podcast. From Colorado State University to New Belgium Brewery and the hundreds of miles of hiking and biking trails, Fort Collins has earned its well-deserved reputation as one of the top places to live in the United States. Your hosts, Patrick and Chris, were born and raised in Fort Collins. Patrick owns and runs Soukup Real Estate Services, a top-rated real estate brokerage company here in Fort Collins. Chris is the co-owner of the Murphy Whitlock Group, a top-rated residential mortgage broker based out of Fort Collins. Now join the fellas as they uncover the stories, places, and people that make Fort Collins so exceptional.
Well, today we have a special guest on. I've known this man for pretty much my entire life, and very grateful that he is willing to join us today. He's had an amazing career, and Fort Collins continues to be instrumental to Northern Colorado. And definitely, if you're in and around the business scene over the last 50 years, you probably know this man's name. But Mark Soukup, thank you for joining us today.
You bet. Excited to talk with you, Patrick.
It's great to have you, Mark. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, talk to us a little bit about maybe some of your background, but you are the mayor of Timnath, Colorado, and how you kind of came to be in that position.
I'll tell you what, when I retired, which was in 2019, late 18, I still wanted to do things, but didn't want to get involved with the business side of it anymore. And so I've done, all of the other things, the community foundation and respite care and Boys and Girls Club and all of those kinds of things. And I just wanted to do something different that was service to the place I love. So Timnath was running through a rough patch there where the council was dysfunctional. And so I decided to go ahead and run, and I ran. And, I beat an incumbent who had been there forever. And it's hard to beat incumbents. Anybody that's in politics knows that. And I beat her by 40%. So it was, I think I ran a good campaign and hit people in the key items that they wanted and went from there.
Talk to me a little bit.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
Talk to me a little bit about Timnath. You were I feel like the Harmony Club was one of the first big dominoes to fall in Timnath, and you were an early mover there in 2007, moving out there, building your house, and now Timnath is like on the map. And talk to me a little bit about that growth since 2007 that you've seen in Timnath.
So we've got, our town is 10,100 people. We've got registered voters of about 7,800. And, it was 12 years ago, the town population was 400. So, in part, it is a pretty impressive growth. But on the second part, when you start at zero, it's easy to get your percentages up there quick. So that sometimes I think we get credit for just the fact that we were dinky when we first started. But great people here. I'll tell you, when I went around as mayor, I did door to door, and I hit 90% of the people in town and talked to them. And it was so much fun. I mean, most people say, hey, I hate that. I loved it. And the reason why, there were so many nice people, a lot of young people, a lot of people with their families, and they were so excited to be there. It's their first home. And it was neat to see that energy. And so that energy sort of shot on to me. And for the last 4 years as mayor, I think we've done some good things.
Mark, what Timnath's interesting. I grew up in Fort Collins, as Patrick and I did, and all of us have a strong as you did as well. But Timnath is funny. You got Windsor, you got Timnath and Loveland, and Timnath is just like you said. I was looking up the census tract before we did the interview, and it was like 8,000 people a few years ago. And I'm glad you brought up the 10,000 people. But as mayor of Timnath, what are the issues that the people of Timnath really like? When you were campaigning, what were the issues that people came to you and said, Mark, this is a problem, we need to address it, or we really like this, because it feels like Timnath just got trapped in just a vacuum of growth from coming in from the east with a Harmony and Fort Collins. You got Wellington, but I'd be curious to see what the residents of Timnath were telling you when you were campaigning, and what were the issues that were most important to them.
Sure. And I'm going to look up later. Give me a small break and I'll look up, because I've got all the stats.
Sure.
Because I'm going to do the state of the town on Wednesday.
I saw that.
We've gathered up all the information to disseminate. So I've got it here. I just need to pull it out. I should have pulled it out ahead. Sorry about that.
Now you can just make it up too. Don't worry about it.
All right.
You're running for re-election. You're good.
I'll tell you what. You know what? I'll bet I could give you 10 things or 10 choices on what were the most important item in Timnath, and I'll bet you wouldn't have gotten it.
You want me to guess a couple?
Yeah, I'll guess a couple.
Budgetary issues.
Pardon?
Budgetary issues.
Oh, that was way down.
Way down.
Water rights.
Not even existing.
Gosh. Crime.
To the extent crime wasn't, except people wanted a 24/7 police force. And so that was a big deal. And over the last 4 years, we built a police station. You see it there on Harmony. And we're almost to 24/7 with getting officers. It's hard to get officers. And so we're almost at the point for getting that. But that was maybe fourth or fifth.
Growth. Where is the growth going to go?
Not overtly. There are people that are no growthers, but they don't want to admit it. So,
what about taxes?
Taxes was probably 2 or 3.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, an interesting fact is taxes. I think I remember this pretty well. And a $500,000 home, its property taxes in Timnath is $230. I mean, we no way near does it cover the expenses we incur with police and snow removal and all that. So our taxes, people. One of the things I have to always educate people on in Timnath is, you got a huge property tax bill. I mean, mine came in at $10,000. I got a huge property tax bill, but the amount that the town gets is a very small sliver of that.
Because you're heavy on sales tax.
Was one of the. Sorry, Patrick. Let me finish this one thought. Taxes is one of the things that people said, but they didn't know all the info, and once they did, it was a non-issue.
Because for a town and a city, the majority of the sales tax base is from sales tax, correct?
Almost 90%.
Right. And Costco and Walmart were huge kind of dominoes to help bring that tax base so high.
It was. Go ahead, Pat. I'll answer him. Go ahead.
I was just going to say Topgolf, Mark. That's got to be number one. I mean, I got to ask.
That was after my time.
Okay.
That was after my time. I mean, after my election. So it wasn't during my campaign. It was.
I was bummed that you guys voted that down. I was looking forward to Topgolf, but
you know what? It was really a dysfunctional type of setup, and really Topgolf shot themselves in the foot.
Really?
They did not politic. They did not come forward and say why they'd be a benefit or why they should be allowed in the town and stuff. And so there was a fairly vocal, and I don't know if they were minority or majority yet because we didn't vote, but there was a very vocal group which were absolutely against it, and they dominated the discussion.
Yep.
They took over the narrative and stuff.
Well, we'll go back to Topgolf, but what was the number one issue? I'm dying to know what it is.
Nice restaurants.
Oh, sure.
Nice rest. So I went to Chimney Park last night for Valentine's Day, and amazing meal. But we were talking.
Great place, a nice owner.
Great. Is it who's the owner's name? I'm blanking on it. Anyways,
I'm blanking too, so I'm
yeah.
not going to try.
But we were talking about how there are no like restaurants like that in all of Fort Collins. Timnath, it's so funny you brought up restaurants. My wife would be just like pounding the table right now.
Yeah. No, there isn't. I mean, think about it. The only restaurant we have, which is nice that they have it, is a donut shop.
The chicken and donut.
Yeah. And Domino's.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, but Fort Collins even has a similar situation. I was just taking notes about the downsides of living in Fort Collins, and one of them is that we don't have a great amount of restaurants. Definitely don't have a Michelin star restaurant, and there's a disparity between the rents that that businesses are charging and the amount of density that is coming into those spots to be able to afford. We had Ginger Graham on for Ginger and Baker, and we were talking about how important it is for locals to establish themselves as frequenters of these restaurants.
It's always been what, one of the things that Fort Collins does horridly, and Timnath, is we don't encourage and almost shame people who go out of town to buy their retail goods. Greeley is incredibly good about that. I mean, Greeley, you talk to somebody from Greeley, hey, I won't use a realtor that's not in Greeley. I won't use an accountant that's not in Greeley. I won't use a lawyer that's not in Greeley. I won't use a clothing store that's not in Greeley for the most part. Greeley's always been very, very, very good about taking care of their own, whereas Fort Collins hasn't.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was just going to say, Patrick, on the Michelin star comment, last night I found out that Colorado as a state just opened up the door to Michelin star ratings for restaurants like a couple of years ago. And I think there was 8 restaurants that got it, and there was like a couple in Vail, one in Aspen, like a few in Denver. But
I think it got one.
What's that?
We only got one.
We only got one,
and you went to it.
Oh, yeah, Chimney Park.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Yeah, Colorado was just new to that scene. But anyways, Mark, so restaurants, taxes, everything like that. What do you think? Yeah, I know you're not running again, but what do you think? Here we are 4 years later, and it's pretty crazy how the world has changed so much in 4 years, and we've all seen it. But what do you think that the residents of Timnath are looking out into the future? What are the issues that you think are going to be at the top of the ballot for this next election?
I think managed growth. I don't think you can't. Anybody that has any intelligence knows you can't stop growth.
Right.
I mean, that will turn into a boulder if we want to stop our growth. And so even the no growthers are aware that they've got to have some growth with it. But that's going to be a big issue. Now, as you know, we don't have an election challenge going on this year. We've got 2 council positions open with 3 people running, but one of the 3 is one of the council members also. So there's really nobody running for council, and the mayor's running unopposed.
And who is that? Who's running unopposed right now?
Axelrod.
Okay.
Axmacher. I said Axelrod. Axmacher. Robert.
Talk to us about that kind of controlled growth. The planning and zoning, process in Fort Collins is extraneous. I mean, it could take 3 to 4 years to put shovels in the dirt, before a project could really take hold.
Let me tell you something. We just got done with Patrick. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good.
We just did an impact study, for all the impact fees and stuff. We're at 8,000 per residential lot. Windsor's about 8,000. Berthoud's about 8,000. Fort Collins is 12,900.
So 50% higher.
Yeah.
And what to get a shovel in the dirt in Timnath? What is that timeline that you're seeing? Or maybe I don't know if you have insights into that, but for a developer to come a year, yeah, that's what it was. I was, Landon.
I mean, it drives me nuts, but it goes about a year, and I've even tried to babysit a project or two to get it through and quicker, and it just doesn't happen.
But a year's not bad. For, like I said, Fort Collins is at 36 months for like through the entitlement process, the preliminary reviews. I mean, it's terrible. So, people talk about pricing, and I always talk to them. I said, even if we wanted to push the full pedal to the metal, all developers came in, we're still 3 to 4 years before any real projects of substance can take hold, because that's just the time it takes. And, Landon Hoover at Hartford Homes talked to Biz West one time, and he was talking about it used to be 12 months, where Timnath is still 12 months. So it's more pro developer, pro business. Yeah. And I mean, shoot, how many millions of dollars these projects have to risk to potentially not ever put a shovel in the dirt, or risk labor costs, material costs. I mean, over 3 years, so many different
legal
fees.
Yeah.
Not to pat ourselves on the back, but we've been running through a few legal issues up here in town, and one of the lawyers that we hired represents a number of communities and stuff, and he's had to work very closely with our engineering and planning group. And he's a friend of mine, and pulled me aside and said, you got one of the best planning and engineering groups that I work with in the state. So I'm glad to hear you say, hey, it's quicker here. And I think a part of it is because we've got a good group that knows what they're doing.
Isn't David Weekley, Patrick, are they building homes out in Timnath? Is it David Weekley or
there's a lot? There's
a ton.
brothers.
Yeah.
He is. There's a bunch of them right now.
Toll Brothers has a great product
Weekley
out
was
there.
one of the first ones.
Weekley was one of the first ones. And where is it? Like, I mean, Mark, do you guys go all the way to Harmony Club?
So let me tell you that
as somebody who grew up here, I'm like, where are the boundaries of Timnath?
How's Timnath's growing so much? It's going to be awful. We can't grow much. We're an island.
Yeah.
Think about it. From the west, Fort Collins got totally blocked out. To the south, Loveland has this totally blocked out, as does Windsor. To the east, Severance and Windsor have us totally blocked out. There's no, and to the north, Wellington does. Even though they're not there, they claimed a GMA, which managed growth area. They claimed all the stuff that's up by what's that lake? You guys know it.
Oh, it's like those private homes right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Cobb.
So everything north of Cobb is Wellington. And so we are an island. We are literally an island. And the biggest that Timnath will ever get, I believe we figured out, was about 30,000. I mean, it just,
but that's still triple from what it is right now.
Oh yeah. We still got still growth and stuff. And the reason why we get Costco, the reason why we get Walmart, the reason why we get Floor Decor, and we can make sure we talk about the Ladera project.
Yeah.
But the reason we get those isn't because of Timnath. The reason we get those is because we've got, I think it was 8,000 rooftops in South Fort Collins that are within a 5-mile radius where these guys want to build. We've got almost all of Windsor that comes into us. And so we've got this huge radius that we're stealing from other people to sit there and promote. We're going to get an In-N-Out burger.
Right.
The reason we get an In-N-Out burger is because of Fort Collins and Loveland. We're supplying a little bit of it, but they're supplying the big bulk.
Yeah, that Harmony I-25 corridor is absolutely madness as far as its
bonkers
growth. It's
crazy.
Which to your point, talking about Ladera, I mean, Ladera would have had the Top Golf. They've have some mineral issues with the Connell and things of that nature. But it's a massive project. What, 2 million square feet of commercial and how many ever rooftops? How do you think that project's going to kind of proceed forward, if it's going to proceed forward?
I think there's no question it'll proceed forward. I mean, what's happened. So I'm glad you mentioned the mineral issue and stuff. There isn't a mineral issue. I mean, what has been said is a bunch of people that are uninformed saying that the town will have to clean up the site. there's nothing. There's a $530,000 deposit to sit there and help clean up. And that's what's to clean up from here forward. They've already, cleaned up along the highway, all that stuff was sit there and ripped out. They changed the road and that. And there's two other things that they have done already that has cleaned up, that's part of their cleanup. And they haven't touched the 530,000 yet. So the cleanup issue and the mineral issue is such a red herring. It's just unbelievable. It's sad that people will misstate the truth.
And the Ladera project, for those that don't know, and I'm guilty of this one, where exactly is this located? Is it right east of I-25?
So if you think about, where Florida Core is.
Yep.
That's the north boundary.
Okay.
The south boundary, the east boundary is County Road 5. So it goes all the way, it's about a mile.
Okay.
County Road 5. The south boundary is Kector, which is right where Colorado Youth Outdoors, CYO is.
Yeah. Okay. I'm following you.
And so that's our south. And did I mention that? And then Highway I-25 is our western boundary to that. So it's that island that's right there.
Isn't you probably know the Harrison family, Mark, the Harrison Ranch? Is he still, because isn't that right there in the heart of it? I remember going out to I went to school with the kids there, but
Craig.
Yeah. But okay, I just wanted to get that area. And what is the timing on that, Mark? Do you think? How long will that take?
Tomorrow. We just
you guys do move faster than Fort Collins. I love it.
We just annexed them, 188 acres.
God, I remember reading.
And so we just annexed them into the town. They say they've got 5 projects already ready to break ground. One is In-N-Out Burger, and they did mention the other one, and I'm sorry, I'm passing on it. And there's 3 others that they are basically shovel ready for.
Wow, that's just going to be huge. I absolutely love it. As far as bringing cool businesses. What, a year ago there was no In-N-Out Burger in Northern Colorado. Now there's going to be 2 here in the next 12 months.
I know. And it's, and we talked about restaurants. So if it wasn't going to be a high-end restaurant, they'd settle for an In-N-Out Burger.
It's not a bad alternative.
I still, guilty. I've not been to the In-N-Out Burger in Loveland yet.
I've been once, and I got to say, it's like, it tastes just the same as Southern California when all my years out there. But
so so we're going to have a lot, the great thing with Timnath then is we're going to have lots of sales tax revenue.
Yeah.
It's going to be incredibly good.
Well, I read that, kind of the agreement that Timnath and Costco had for the 5 years of like the sharing of sales tax. And now it's 100% to Timnath. And I'm like, just talk about a ticker symbol, because that parking lot is filled all the time.
People get all excited about incentives. We got a big fight going on with McWhinney and Loveland down south. I know. And those incentives work. Costco's a perfect example of incentives working. We gave out half. I think they picked up $5 million, $6 million on sales tax revenue during that period of time. Now all that's coming to us.
That's crazy.
And it wouldn't have if we hadn't done that. Because there's some, Johnstown is giving away the farm. They'll anybody that wants to go in there, they'll get all their sales tax for 20 years. I don't know what the real answer is, but
right.
Yeah.
It's almost egregious what they're giving away.
I'm glad you brought up McWhinney's in Loveland, and I'm sure you've been paying attention to politics all over Northern Colorado. You're basically born and raised here for all intents and purposes, but there's just seems to be like the Topgolf, the land use code, the McWhinney issue going on, the sanctuary at the Greens in Fort Collins, Ladera. It just feels like there's so much pushback And to your point, you can't stop growth. Yes, you can kind of manage it maybe, but what are your thoughts on this? Just high level of what's happening and
I'll
how's
tell
this
you
going to
what's
shake
really,
out?
we're all going to learn a lot on the vote that's happening in Timnath on the allowing the annexation of Ladera. Now, we did it. We're allowed to do it. Now, can they push back with a statute? We actually have some question on whether they legally can, but anyway, the community is going to have the opportunity to sit there and vote yay or nay on that. And from everything I'm hearing, the vast majority of people are going to vote for annexing in Ladera. So I don't see. It'll be interesting to see how that falls out and stuff. Now, everybody sits there and pulls in, and you got trapped in it too, Patrick, with Top Golf. Top Golf had a lot of issues that, and let it. Here's something you don't know, and I doubt anybody knows. We, as a council, never voted on it. I mean, we did not approve it. We did not agree with it. It never even hit our venue. It never even hit P&Z, and it has hit P&Z, and then it comes to the council. So it was 2 to 3 steps away from us and being able to decide, would we let the fences be as high as they are? Would it be smaller? Would the lights be less? All of that stuff, we had the ability to dictate. We never got the ability to dictate because it never, we lost. We had that vote. And we as a council decided not to take a position, which I'm sort of glad we didn't, because quite frankly, the Top Golf people were real ineffective and really didn't come to the table to state their case. Never did. Never showed up. I mean, they
just probably assumed that it was a foregone conclusion that it'll get approved. It sounds like they just were like, yeah, there's no worries, we'll get this going.
I don't know what their thoughts were, but the end of the day is they didn't do anything. Well, other than Haley losing to none, hardly ever anybody loses when they don't have anybody going against them. So.
But Mark, talk about McWhinney a little bit. Patrick mentioned McWhinney, obviously a huge player in Northern Colorado development. What is the Timnath relationship, and what has that been like as you've been mayor?
None. We don't have one. Yeah, McWhinney's are mainly Loveland and Greeley. They have no activity in Timnath.
I'm just surprised. I guess I'm a little surprised to hear that, just because I figure everybody I'm sure Jenny Arndt. We've had her on a couple times, Mark, and yeah, and I she definitely is reaching out to other communities in the area. What is the dynamic between these different mayors, whether it's Loveland or Fort Collins or Timnath or Windsor or Greeley? Do you guys all get together for drinks every quarter, or are you? What is that?
She tell you that?
No, she didn't tell me that.
You do.
Well, good. That's good.
Actually, literally do. Jenny, mayor of Windsor, Matt, who has a business in Fort Collins, but he's the mayor of Severance. The Windsor mayor, Paul, I'll tell you what, everybody in Northern Colorado ought to be really excited that they've got those people running their towns. They're all stand-up people. They all care tremendously about their town. And I'll tell you what, one of the most fun things I do as mayor is have those quarterly meetings with those mayors. They're just great people.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
We've had Jenny on a couple times, and she's just a phenomenal person. I think she's got a lot of great thoughts, pro-business, growth, progressive. She's, got conservative background. I mean, it's just, she's a great person all around, and I think just a good human. So, I mean, I've really enjoyed getting to know her.
She's funny. She's like, it shouldn't take 14 signatures to get something on my desk. Like, she is definitely trying to speed up this process of getting things done and getting things, to the, I guess, getting shovels in the ground, you could say.
I used to play in tennis tournaments against her father.
She said that. Yeah. So besides Ladera, you've got Timnath Ranch, you've got Timnath Lakes, you've got, David Weekley's, build going on right there. County Road 5 seems to be blowing up, Kitchell Lake, Saratoga Falls. Is there any project that might be kind of going under the radar that people maybe don't know about or isn't front page news that you're excited about?
Timnath Lakes has been taking so long to get there, and it should, from a residential, if you're talking about residential, it should blow up and get going. And so it's doing well. Timnath Ranch will continue to do well. They'll just keep expanding out as there's a demand there. I think the big thing for Timnath is Ladera, quite frankly. I mean, it they bring, because it's also it's not just retail. It's I think there's 500 residential units that'll eventually be built on there, with apartments and stuff. And the thing that some of the people were saying, well, why are we putting in a hotel, a motel? We don't need a motel. First off, that seems pretty dumb, but that's one of the arguments going on. But what better place to stick a motel than beside the highway?
Oh,
You don't want it in the middle of town. And, what better place to put some of these developments? We don't want it, on there. And then Ladera, the owners are such good people, and they're helping facilitate respite moving over there and setting up their project, which is a great community service for, it will be for Greeley now too, for both Greeley and Fort Collins and Timnath.
Is it Connell LLC, the owner? Property
Yes.
owned by? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, family owned. Interesting.
Yes. Ben Connell was the originator, and then his son and daughter are the operators.
Now I know you're leaving the position of mayor, and what's the term for you now? Mayor
Pro
something?
temp? Is it pro temp?
No, Mayor Pro Tem's the like assistant mayor.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't remember your mayor something.
Emeritus.
Emeritus. There it is. So there you go. There's your future title. But
There we go.
I know that you're leaving that position, but one of the roles, at least, Ed Stoner, when he told me one of his big things when he was mayor of Fort Collins that he was excited about being a part of was bringing a Budweiser brewery to Fort Collins in northern Colorado. Is such a huge landing spot for him.
Oh, that's something you don't probably know. I was the president of the chamber at that time and did a big work. In fact, Budweiser gave me some commemorative mugs and stuff because of all the help I gave them while I was president of the chamber.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's again, we probably could have 3-hour-long conversation with you to talk about all the history, but there's a big part of being the mayor, I kind of liked whatever we all feel about Polis is fine, but one of the things he said about Colorado as a chief marketing officer for Colorado, and I kind of liked that term because you're just like, all right, you're trying to attract businesses, people to these communities, increase the tax base. Is there any retail or business or anything like that you were trying to talk to or might be excited about in the future that could make way into Timnath?
No, sort of leaving it to the developers to sit there and because they're as you and Chris both know very well, you're going to be helpful with you love the community, but also what brings money in. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to be doing the heavy lifting, and for the town to get involved, my particular my bias on it is, municipalities shouldn't be running businesses. It should be the private sector, and the private sector will do a much better job because they have money into it and they can't look to tax dollars to help fund their mistakes. So I'm a firm
Yeah, they got to be making money. Yeah, exactly. They're incentivized to have a successful business.
And so they do it. I think the things that need to come, and it's just like In-N-Out Burger. Did we have anything to do with it? No. Did it pop up? Yes. Now our job is to facilitate it. Once they get there, once they say, "Hey, we'll come in and we're interested in doing it. What can you help us with?" Then we need to step up and facilitate it.
Yeah. Oh, I've actually just pulled up the master plan for Ladera, and I mean it's
cool.
It's pretty amazing. Anybody listening or watching right now, yeah, LaderaTimnath.com. There's some great information on that that I definitely want to dive into more for sure, and following that project.
So April, when is your last day in office?
Probably April 20 something.
April 20 something.
All right.
And post being mayor, a lot of time with the grandkids.
Lots of time with the grandkids.
Very cool.
What?
Mark,
I was going to say, Patrick, real quick. What's some advice, Mark, for the new mayor of Timnath? What would you tell this new mayor?
Don't let the negatives bother you. Ignore them as much as you possibly can. Do a stiff arm to them. Try this. Ladera is going to be good. Try to facilitate and encourage that development so that we've got something to be proud of, and sort of don't screw it up.
Don't screw it up. I love it.
Took off. That the council was fighting with each other, and one of the big things that I was proud of that we did is we totally refinanced the town debt. We had you guys will understand this, 7% interest-free debt that we had issued out. Well, it should have been 4% or so. And that was bad decision-making by the prior mayor. And so that, just keep going with the things we've done. The debt, watching the debt and that kind of stuff.
It's amazing watching. For whatever reason, I enjoy watching council. I watch you on town council on YouTube. When you guys are going, but man, being a part of the Loveland City Council right now would just be a freaking nightmare. It looks like
I got a call from
fighting.
Patrick. I got a call from a friend of mine last night who is very much involved in the Loveland City Council thing, and I won't get into names or anything like that, but it basically said it was a shit show.
Oh, I can't imagine.
It's what the one thing I'm proud of is I've got a cohesive council that I worked hard at them. I included them in everything. I let them talk, let them have their say, and I think that generated a real cohesive, collaborative effort. And you asked the question, and I should have said that right off the bat. Collaborate with the rest of the council and have a goal in mind of what you're trying to accomplish.
Love that.
Well, Mark, we are in Northern Colorado, Timnath, Northern Colorado, but you grew up in Fort Collins, and the microbrew capital of the world, so to speak. And we end each show with the question of, on a Friday afternoon, after a long week's worth of politicking, where do you find yourself enjoying a cold beverage? What patio in Northern Colorado?
Where?
Probably
the Harmony Club.
Yeah.
There you go. They got a great view. That back patio is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm ready for golf to start back up. Mark, we can't thank you enough.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. And
thank you
for all you've done over the last 4 years for Timnath, and congratulations on being able to spend a lot of time with your grandkids. They're some pretty cute kids, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, we're both biased.
Friends of the podcast, thank you so much as always for tuning in. We thank you so much for your support. And just so you know, my amazing co-host Patrick Soukup over there, he is the founder, started Soukup Real Estate. If you ever need any questions about buying or selling, or just want a market report on your existing home, reach out to Patrick. His team is absolutely fantastic. born and raised in Fort Collins. His information is right there on the page. Strongly recommend reaching out.
And same for you, Chris. As if you guys are looking at buying or refinancing a home here in Northern Colorado, there's nobody better to reach out to than the Murphy Whitlock Group. And Chris Murphy is going to take incredible care of you. So do not hesitate to reach out, ask questions. He is in no rush, no hurry. So give him a chance. And I think he's going to do a great job for you. Thank you for watching.